What do you make of, you mentioned it, the polling on how they feel, the American public feels about the president's handling of radical Muslim extremists? Let's put it on the board. 74% believe that he has not been tough enough on radical Muslim extremists, 74%, and that includes 60% of Democrats. I think it's 70% of independents and 91% of Republicans. Overwhelmingly, they think he's been too soft on this issue.
And they're right about that. Just look at the latest appalling example, the beheading of an American in Oklahoma, shouting Muslim slogans, a guy who had sort of al-Qaeda elements all over his website, and the FBI comes in, the federal government says, we see no evidence of terrorism here. What in God's name are they talking about? This is obviously a terror attack. They're calling it workplace violence, like Captain Hassan, who shot 13 Americans, about 3 or 4 years ago? Also workplace violence. Obama will not even call this by its name. In the speech he gave at the UN just a week ago, he used the phrase 3 times, violent extremism, which is an empty phrase with no content and is meaningless. Even the United Arab Emirates uses the phrase Islamic extremists or Islamic terrorists. And for God's sake, the Islamic State, ISIS itself, calls itself the Islamic State. But Obama won't, because of what you showed earlier in the show, Obama saying, I grew up in a Muslim land, I can speak to them, I will change the relationship with the world.
Well, let me show that. Let me show that here. Let me show that right here so the audience can hear what you and I heard prior to air. Listen.
Well, I truly believe that the day I'm inaugurated, not only does the country look at itself differently, but the world looks at America differently. If I'm reaching out to the Muslim world, they understand that I've lived in a Muslim country and I may be a Christian, but I also can understand their point of view. And then I think that the world will have confidence that I am listening to them in the world. That will ultimately make us safer.
Go ahead, Charles.
I mean, that is preposterous. That is a toxic combination of naivete on the one hand and grandiosity on the other. He went around the beginning of his presidency to Cairo, Istanbul, all over the place, offering an open hand, understanding. He even said we're going to finally respect the Muslim world, as if the U.S. has not respected it in the past, and that he would somehow, by this sort of, accommodation, would strengthen our hand in the Muslim world. Everywhere you look in the Muslim world, from the Boko Haram terrorists in Nigeria, El Shabaab attacks in Kenya and Somalia, to what's happening with ISIS, to what's happening in Libya, where Obama goes in and he leaves nothing behind, where the terrorists are now frolicking in the U.S. Embassy pool. Everywhere you look, you have got a deterioration of the U.S. position. Obama chose weakness. Obama chose withdrawal. Obama chose decline, thinking it would appease our enemies. It's had, of course, as always, the precisely opposite effect.
Charles